Good morning. This is Faith in Our Hometown, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin. And now, here's your host, Father Jay Friedel.
Good morning and welcome to Faith in Our Hometown, our weekly conversation about issues that affect us here in the greater Joplin area. My guests this morning are going to be Dr. Mike LaFerla and Dr. Rob Ringer. They're both, besides being local dental care providers, they're also here for representing this morning the Missouri Mission of Mercy. Missouri Mission of Mercy, we're going to find out a little bit about that and an event that they're going to be having here hosted at Missouri Southern here just later on this week. It is extremely important, as is the care and the health care of all of the people in our area, something that we can all join together for. And so they're here to talk about that and to let you know what you might do to volunteer, what you might do to find some people who might need a little bit of a dental assistance here in the next few days. And so please be sure to come back and join us right after this Mercy Minute. Don't go away. Again, my guests this morning, Dr. Mike LaFerla and Dr. Rob Ringer. Join us right after this break.
Once I quit playing football, I still kept up with the eating, the amount of calories I wasn't exercising, so the weight started adding on. Dr. Lou is very knowledgeable in the work he does. He also has a program set up that has support systems in place for you. You'll go through the seminar at first. He'll give you the different examples of surgeries you can have to see which one works best with you. He will also sit down with you and discuss the options, what he feels, but he'll work with you the entire time. Mercy has their gastric bypass program here. They have all kinds of resources and support systems in place. They want to see you succeed, and they're here to help you the entire time, even after the surgery.
So welcome back, and thanks for joining us on a lovely Sunday morning. Again, my guests this morning, Dr. Mike LaFerla and Dr. Rob Ringer, both local dentists. And so why don't you guys introduce yourselves for anybody who might not know you in our viewing audience?
Well, I'm Dr. Rob Ringer. I'm a practicing dentist here in Joplin. I've been practicing for 15 years.
15, okay.
And I'm Dr. Michael LaFerla. I'm an orthodontist here in Joplin. I've been here for 21 years.
So, and I've been here for 11, but doing what I'm doing for 30, so you're both just kids to me. No, I'm just kidding. But at any rate, you guys are representing this morning Missouri Mission of Mercy. So tell us a little bit about Missouri Mission of Mercy. What is that?
It's a 2-day free dental clinic that we're going to host at Missouri Southern at the Leggett and Platt Athletic Center. And again, I just want to thank you for having us on so we can promote this event.
No, it's great. I think it's important. Obviously the health of our community is extremely important to all of us. I don't care what faith background we are. I don't care what kind of level we are or what kind of segment of society. I would hope that health is important to all of us. And some people fall through the cracks, obviously, which is what Missouri Mission of Mercy is.
Correct.
So what is that group?
Well, the Missouri Dental Association has a foundation side, and the foundation basically has started this Missouri Mission of Mercy 6 years ago. So it has moved around the state. It started originally in 2011 in Springfield. Then the following year was in Cape Girardeau, St. Louis, Columbia, Kansas City, and now it's going to be in Joplin.
Wonderful.
And so it's been really a great opportunity for a lot of people who couldn't afford dental care to get some.
Well, and you are. I'm going to get on my soapbox here for a second here because seriously, I've said to all of my friends in the in the medical profession, whatever branch it happens to be, I've said to them for years, okay, if you don't like the Affordable Care Act, if you don't like this, if you don't like that, if you don't like the other thing, or whatever it is we're going to talk about doing next, if you don't like it, then be part of the solution. Mm-hmm. Help us figure out how to care for these folks who are falling through the cracks. And so I just want to say congratulations to you and Missouri Mission of Mercy for at least taking a stab at trying to figure out how do we provide some free services to folks who might not otherwise be able to afford them. So thank you to Missouri Mission of Mercy.
Sure.
And I think it's great because what you're really doing is saying, okay, not only are we going to, be good businessmen and good doctors and run a good practice and make a good living and take care of our families, but we also know there's some folks out there who are in need.
Sure.
Definitely.
And I'm just grateful to you for that regard. So what are you trying to accomplish with these clinics and those kinds of things? So tell us what's going to happen next week here at Missouri Southern.
Sure. Well, like you said, I mean, it does. The clinic does kind of highlight the gap between those with and without good oral health care coverage and stuff like that. But our main mission and focus here with the clinic is to provide those patients with care that they need that they don't get anywhere else. My personal experience with the clinic for the 3 years that I've participated with the mission throughout the state, it's just one of those heartwarming things. It's our way to, give back to the community and kind of fill one of those gaps in our system at this point in time, and it's been something that's been really rewarding for me, and it's been very heartfelt just kind of hearing and seeing those patients come through the door and with their stories. Every patient that comes through the door has their own story.
Has their own story, right?
So,
and some of them, and again, you guys are walking into the gap, okay? And you do hear those stories, and a lot of people don't ever get to hear them. They just know, well, there are people out there and they're not getting care, or, I've never heard it, I've never known anyone, I've never seen anyone, and they do. They walk through the door. So.
Well, as he said, this is actually both of our third years being involved, and one of the things that's really neat is on the website that they have for Missouri, the MOMOM organization, they actually have videos of each of the previous events they've had, and all of them share stories, not just the general story of what's happening on clinic-wise, but specific people, and as they go through their journey through there of coming in a little apprehensive, not knowing what to expect, to at the end having really a good result, and obviously a change in some of them dramatically as to what they look like. Now, the clinic is set up to where it's going to be one of those things that they're hitting the biggest, most important thing with somebody. So that may be because they're in pain, there's an extraction or a filling or something like that. And it will be a very large undertaking.
Well, you told me before we got started that you're going to have 1,100 volunteers for this event.
That's our goal.
So tell me,
yeah,
how have you done all that?
Well, the organization itself is very well organized. We do have a website, momom.org, that people can go on and get registered.
So let's make sure we underline that for momom.org.
Correct.
MOMOM.
Yes.
Oh, that's kind of hard to say. MOMOM.org. Okay,
Correct.
Which is great because I do want to be able. I want folks, who might look to see let's see some of those stories. So that's wonderful. So that's part of how you've organized.
Correct, and that's basically the portal on how we organize that, because it is a very vast, amount of people that we have to organize as far as the workflow. But you sign up on the website, and then you get to choose where you want to help the clinic. And then from there, we kind of organize, who needs to go where, and kind of work it out that way.
Okay, so in terms of looking for volunteers, I mean, obviously you're looking for dental professionals,
Correct.
okay, orthodontic professionals, all those people in the teeth and mouth field, okay. But what else?
Of those 1,100, only about 300 to 400 will be dentists.
Okay.
Then there will be also hygienists, assistants. We actually have some medical people there because we have to go through some health history, so there'll be some physicians and nurses.
Okay.
And then the rest of them are actually general volunteers that don't really necessarily have any dental background whatsoever.
Good.
Because there's a lot of things that have to be done. Everything from people driving in and is having some parking assistance as to where they need to park, checking people in, going through a bunch of the different things as far as paperwork, so to speak, because you want to make sure you have a good health history before you obviously see somebody and make sure you're not causing some harm.
Sure.
There's just a lot of things. Also, we have food service for all these volunteers, so we have people that are doing all those things as well. It's not, obviously it sounds like it's just dental, but there's so many things behind the scenes that have to be done to make it work. Yeah.
Right. And hospitality is actually one of the biggest components of the mission, because we try to take care of the patients that have to wait for their services, but we also have to take care of our volunteers. So, for the 6 years that we're going to have been doing this event, that's kind of why we are so successful at what we do, because we have return volunteers, because of they realize that they get taken care of in the sense of, they're not going hungry, they're not going thirsty, and they're taken care of from that capacity.
So I imagine you could take some volunteers at the door, but really, since the event's happening this next week, what would really be helpful if you think you've got something hearing all this that you might be able to offer, you could get on the website then and volunteer.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, but if somebody really finds that they were free on Saturday, I guess they could come out and see whether or not there was something they could do.
Friday or Saturday.
Friday
yes.
or Saturday.
Friday or
Okay,
Saturday, yeah.
but obviously the most helpful thing would be to get on the website and do it ahead of time, which
Correct.
would be important.
Correct.
Okay, good. So you say you've done this for several years. So let's hear a couple of these stories. What do you remember? What has opened you up to say I'm going back again now for
Sure.
the third year?
Sure. Yeah, the first year I went to the one in Columbia, Missouri, and one of the first things that caught me when I walked in, or as we were walking into the clinic, it was already dark because patients started lining up at 4:30 in the morning, so
Oh, wow.
it was pitch black dark, and there was a line of probably 200 to 300 people outside the door waiting to get into the clinic. So that's the first thing that caught me, was just the mass of people that were just already waiting to get into the clinic. And then when I got in there personally, it was just kind of seeing how the clinic flowed. It's a very well organized clinic. It's all focused on patient care, from the time they start waiting in line outside to the time that they're finished with their treatment and they exit. One of the other things later on in the clinic that kind of caught me was the patients fill out a survey card, so to speak, and we start putting them on the wall, and I started just kind of reading through some of those as far as the patient's experience and how thankful they were. But I was also amazed where the patients came from, because it wasn't even just in the Columbia area. There were patients that traveled from St. Louis, where the previous clinic had been, and all around the state. They drove into Columbia, which I really found fascinating, to the point where that kind of, to me, also focused on how big of a need it was.
Well, now just think about that for a second. If you were a parent, you're a parent, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
I am, yeah.
So you guys are both parents, all right? I know his kids. But I don't know.
Yeah,
But at any rate, but if you were a parent and you didn't have dental insurance for your kid, you couldn't afford it. You couldn't, it was just either feed them or get dental care for them, and you couldn't afford to get the dental care. Wouldn't you drive,
Yeah, absolutely.
150 miles, 200
Oh, there's no
miles
doubt.
to try to, knowing that if I can get my kid in here, I can take care of this problem, today, and make sure the rest of my kid's year is going to be a whole lot happier and better off
absolutely.
caring for their health. Yeah.
Yeah, no
So I
doubt.
mean, story. You have a story that you'd like to share in terms of your experience the last couple of years?
Well, definitely the first thing, like he mentioned, was the number of people there. But when I did go in, the first year, him and I both went up there. We were kind of brought in as for a little bit of organization, because we were planning ahead to Joplin 2 years ago, believe it
Okay,
or not.
good.
And so as we started going around, I was situated to where I went into almost every different area. And I ended up following one couple from the time they checked in all the way through the process. And it was interesting because a husband and wife came in. It was really the husband bringing the wife in, who had several dental needs with some serious pain and just could not afford to have this done. So I spent quite a bit of time talking to both of them, mainly the husband, because the wife was obviously in some discomfort. But just the fact of what he said that they had tried to do and just couldn't get anybody to help them in this situation. And so whenever she was finished that day, number one, she was a lot happier because obviously some of the pain that she had was
Sure.
gone. But it was just interesting realizing, like you mentioned before, this gap that is definitely present, and knowing that there's a lot of dentists in the state of Missouri, and it isn't only a Missouri event. This is actually sponsored nationwide in different states
Great.
through the American Dental Association. And
So if somebody comes from the Kansas side, you're not going to turn them away.
Correct.
There's- Okay, great.
And they're each state, actually, most of the states have their own version of MOMOM. So, but yeah, Joplin's is going to be accepting people from Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, wherever they want to. And I would assume several of the people who went to previous events will end up driving to Joplin.
Sure, and especially if they couldn't get it all done that one day. Well, I'm here this morning with Dr. Mike LaFerla and Dr. Rob Ringer. They are representing the Missouri Mission of Mercy, which is going to be holding its clinic out at Missouri Southern, and we'll repeat all that information again after the break. But this is Faith in Our Hometown. We're going to be right back after a short break. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
You're watching Faith in Our Hometown on KSN TV, brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.
thanks for sticking with us this morning. Again, we're talking about the clinic that is going to be held by the Missouri Mission of Mercy for anyone who's experiencing some issues of dental nature. Mike, you said you had some statistics about dental care here in the area, and people who might need this.
Well, I'd mentioned this is kind of a program that has been started nationwide, and since it has been started in 2000, they've had actually about 250,000 patients attend these clinics, and to this point, about $150 million in dental care has been given away. In the state of Missouri, since we started in 2011, we've had about 5,000 patients, and actually to this point, almost $5 million in care, which leads us up to what we're going to be doing this weekend. And we're expecting almost 2,000 patients, hopefully, will be coming through that we'll be able to serve, and maybe do a little over $1 million in dental care.
Wonderful. And just give me an idea. So this is like everything from extractions to,
fillings and cleanings, and and again, people just have to understand that we're not going to be able. It's not a comprehensive clinic in the sense we're not going to be able to take care of all their needs, but the clinic is based on taking care of their most urgent needs. But some root canals can even be done, especially on the younger kids. And then, like I said, the other thing that we also focus on, in addition to the care side of it, is also the education side of it. We try to provide the patients as much education as possible, so that way they can also work on the preventative side of it and build off of that as they go forward. So.
And I imagine that's a real challenge because, again, if you can't afford dental care and you've never gone there, and you don't have a history of being educated over the long haul,
right.
That's trying to do a lot of remedial care, if you will, just trying to help fix the problem into the future on a one-shot deal, which is kind of tough.
Yeah,
right.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So, in terms of trying to close that gap, in terms of the education and those kinds of things, what else? What else should we be doing in the community? I mean, what else can we be doing? I mean, I assume you guys get into schools as well. Is Missouri Mission of Mercy just from the foundation side just do this clinic?
We do. I mean, that's the main focus.
The main focus is the clinic
for the MDA, the Missouri Dental Association, as far as a statewide program. Now, locally, I mean, there's some other, there's some federally qualified clinics, health clinics like Access, and 8 clinics in the area. Joplin Community Clinic. Right. Again.
Recent guests here on the program, talking exactly about that, and talking again about the volunteers who come in.
Sure.
And they've got several folks who come in and take care of, dental health and hygiene.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what's really neat about the clinic, because of the sheer quantity of volunteers that we have and the size of the clinic. I think Mike and I were just talking about. I think it's nearly about 100 treatment chairs that get set up in the gymnasium at that point in time. We're able to have such an impact as we come together as an organization. And again, we can't do it all ourselves. We rely on all those other volunteers, whether it be on the nurses, doctors, anyone in the lay community that can come help us out. We appreciate that because it is such a large event, and that impact, like Mike said, I mean, we see almost 2,000 patients, to the point where the area clinic, especially the community clinic, I volunteer down there myself, but we just have we have an impact, but it's at a much smaller scale than with a clinic this size. So.
Sure. And again, there's something about the large event thing that I think will sometimes bring those folks who wouldn't go anywhere else, but they can just say, okay, if I can get there for this day,
sure.
I might have a difference made.
Sure. Absolutely.
So you mentioned earlier that you followed this family all the way through the whole process. How did it make you feel at the end of the day?
Well, it was
when
really
you were
nice.
watching this lady?
It was definitely a nice feeling. I mean, it's one of those things that even though we're the one volunteers supposedly giving something, truthfully, I think at the end of the day, most of the volunteers get more out of it than what they're giving to somebody else, which is a great thing.
If I could just convince the world of that, I mean, I really would. The world would be a whole lot better off because, again, like I just challenged all my friends. I was just like, if everybody would take in X number of patients who couldn't get care otherwise, we might not have had to meddle with all this stuff in the first place. Sure. I mean, in terms of things that we were trying to fix that then didn't work, and now trying to figure out a different way to fix them and, make adjustments and do all that stuff. I just kept saying, if it's not working, then, fix it. Because, I mean, I have to do that in my profession. Sure. If I'm doing something and it's not working and they're not coming, they're not sitting in the pews, well, what am I going to do to try to hook them to come and get them to come and do it?
Right.
So I'm just, again, grateful to you and Missouri Mission of Mercy for taking the opportunity to try to say, how are we going to do this? you know?
Sure.
So you're in TV land right now, okay? So, I mean, we got the clinic that's going to take place, and again, we'll plug this again at the end. But, just some general things. If some of our folks out here maybe don't have to, what are the important things to do to take care of that part of your health?
I think we both agree, day to day, brushing and flossing consistently, taking at least 2 minutes morning and night to get everything good and clean. No doubt that is probably the first and individual thing that every person should do. There's other things.
And everybody's going to, it's that simple? Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no, because when it goes back to the education side of it, I think some people just have that mindset. And from my personal experience as a dentist, I have oftentimes have those conversations with patients that say, well, my mother and father had dentures, my grandparents had dentures, my sister has dentures. They just get in that mindset that if other people in their family have bad teeth, that they're destined to have that. And so the biggest message that we try to convey is that you don't have to go down that road.
Yeah.
And that's really the biggest hurdle that seems to be that we have to
For a
try
lot
to
of
get
people.
across to get across.
Sure.
And again, the same thing with the clinic. That's what we try to get across to those people with that education component of it, is that you're here today, we're going to take care of your most urgent needs and get you to where hopefully you're out of pain and addressing your most urgent needs, but here's the information you need to hopefully prevent you from getting back here and addressing some of your other needs, in addition to kind of referrals to other areas, other places in the community where they could get some additional help if they needed it. So.
Yeah, and again, I do want to plug places like Community Clinic. What were the others you mentioned? Access
and Ake Dental Clinics.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and again, those things are important too, because if we've got some folks in our area who are falling through the cracks, or if you know somebody who can't afford dental care, if the one-time thing will do it, well then, by gosh, get them over to Missouri Southern this weekend. And have them take advantage of that opportunity.
Sure.
But if there are folks in the area that have got that, I'm sure you're going to be referring some of them for the aftercare for whatever you might get started, for the folks in the area that if they're still falling through the cracks, they might be able to access some of those other places as well. Because I do think it's important. I'm just telling you, I've only had, I've got pretty good teeth, good strong bones and all that kind of good stuff. But I'm telling you, I had one little accident when I was in my first year of college where I cracked a couple teeth, and one of them, finally, like last year or 2 years ago, cracked. And it was exposed for a long time. It wasn't causing me any problem for the first couple of weeks. And so consulting with my own dentist, we talked about it, and he said, well, if it's not giving you any trouble, don't worry about it, and we'll fix it the next time you come in or take a look. And he said, but if it starts giving you any trouble, you got to make sure you call me.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, about 2 weeks later, I thought everything was fine. I thought I was going to be good. I thought, no problem, we're good. It must not have gotten too deep. Well, all of a sudden, about 2 weeks later, I started that with that throbbing pain. And I'm telling you, I didn't have any relief until he actually pulled the truth. Now, there's a whole different story about how easy that tooth came out of my mouth. I just thought that this was going to be, I thought it was going to be like, get on my chest and pliers and yanking. And all of a sudden, he's just like, I'm just going to rock this and we'll see what happens. And it's like, okay, we're done. And I'm like, you yanked a tooth out of my head and that was that easy? Oh, what I thought was so secure, I lost that feeling for the rest of my life.
Well, there's a lot of people like you that think it's going to be worse than it really is, and it's one of those things that I think once they come in, if they have a little bit of an open mindset and aren't so afraid to start with, dental care is not as bad as people anticipate.
I had a great dentist when I was a kid, so I never had that fear of dentists. I never did, or haven't. I never had a problem going to get my teeth cleaned. I still don't. I love it every time I do it, because it's like, I love, that little, fresh, cleaned feeling. But I can't imagine if I could, because I get to do that every 6 months because I've got good insurance.
Sure.
What happens if I don't have good insurance?
Well, one area I could honestly say is Missouri Southern, besides being a great university here, actually has a hygiene school.
Yes, it does.
And so I know that that's a very low point of access to get people in for cleanings.
Yeah, good point.
And so that definitely is one additional resource. I don't even know exact numbers, but I know it's pretty inexpensive. And it's an opportunity for the students to learn.
Right, exactly. Any chance we're going to do the dental school on that stuff?
Don't know exactly. Last I heard, it was kind of on hold.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying. But I think let's keep that idea alive. Let's keep talking about it.
Kind of goes back to the funding issue.
I know it's all good. It's all good. But if we don't keep again, that's one of those things we got to keep doing in the community. We got to keep bringing those ideas and doing them because I do know I've had tons of folks go through Catholic campus ministry and through the university who are there specifically for that reason. Yeah. Because they're learning how to make a difference.
Sure.
you know, in people's lives, health-wise, and
Yeah.
that dental health is important. Because I always say that when that tooth was throbbing, I mean, I couldn't get it out of my head fast enough because
Sure.
it was just, you know, when I found I couldn't be fixed, I'm like, then it needs to go. And the relief was
Right.
amazing.
And that's what we'll see over and over at the clinic
At the
coming
clinic.
up this weekend.
Right.
Yeah. So again, let's talk about the clinic again. Missouri Southern, Friday and Saturday coming up. The dates are
The 9th and
9th and 10th of June. From what time to what time both days?
We start at 5:30 a.m. with patients, and it is first come, first serve.
Okay.
So
there will be that line out the door at 4:30 in the morning. Okay.
And it goes through basically until the Friday evening. Will close about 5 in the evening as far as care, and the next day it opens again at 5:30 in the morning.
Okay, so 5:30 in the morning until about 5 in the evening. First come, first served at Missouri Southern in the Leggett and Platt Gym, Athletic Complex. Okay, and again, these are for folks who can't afford, you know, any other care. So I'm here talking with Dr. Mike LaFerla and Dr. Rob Ringer, and they're inviting everyone who might need some relief in terms of some dental care. If you've got an issue, please don't miss the opportunity. Or if you know somebody who has an issue, do not miss the opportunity to get them out to Missouri Southern on this coming Friday and Saturday, so that they might be able to receive a little bit of relief and a little bit of assistance with that little part of their lives. Okay, we're going to be right back after this Mercy Minute. Don't go away. This is Faith in Our Hometown.
Find out how a Mercy doctor can take care of you. At Mercy, your life is our life's work. Quality, safety, and an exceptional patient experience. Mercy is grateful to be recognized as one of the top 15 health systems in the United States. At Mercy, your life is our life's work.
Well, thanks again for joining us for another episode of Faith in Our Hometown this week. We do hope that you've enjoyed the show, hearing a little bit about what some of our local dentists, along with other dentists from around the state and even nationally, are doing to make a difference in the life of people who sometimes fall through the cracks in terms of their health care. They might not have dental coverage, they might not have dental insurance, might be in pain and been walking around with that pain for a long time. Both Dr. LaFerla and Dr. Ringer talked about how important it is to also tap into those resources that we have right here in our own area. Missouri Southern, Community Clinic, Access, and what was the other one? AIC.
Dental clinic.
Okay, AIC Dental Clinic. So those are other resources, but for one day only out here at Missouri Southern, or 2 days only, I'm sorry, at Missouri Southern, this coming Friday and Saturday from 5:30 in the morning until about 5 in the evening, there are going to be 1,100 volunteers waiting to take care of some of those folks who might not get the care otherwise. So show up at Missouri Southern, get what you need. Join us again next week for Faith in Our Hometown.
Thanks for watching. Faith in Our Hometown can be seen Sunday mornings at 6:30 and 9 a.m. on KSN. Brought to you as a community service and sponsored by Mercy Hospital, Joplin.